This young man has come out of nowhere. I find myself a little bit proud because he made his competition debut at the C-Tech Manufacturing World Door Slammer Nationals presented by Jegs earlier this year down at Orlando Speedway, the house that Ozzy and Maria Moya built. He has dived into NHRA Pro Stock competition. The belief was we were going to see this young man 4 times, 5 times, 6 times in 2021. After his strong start to the season, going rounds, qualifying well, performing flawlessly behind the wheel of his Pro Stock Camaro, he has secured the partnerships and secured the funding and the support necessary to do the full pull. Now he finds himself in a really incredible position of in the thick of things, points-wise, has a couple of W's under his belt, has a couple of Wallies, NHRA Pro Stock Wallies under his belt. He is cutting perfect reaction times. He is the one and only Dallas Glenn. What's going on, Dallas? Welcome to the show, brother.
How's it going? It's good to be on here.
Man, thank you for coming, and I apologize. We made you wait a minute. You were on here right on time. Not surprising at all for Dallas Glenn having it all buttoned up.
Yeah.
And we went a little long with our buddy Little Country there, but thank you very much for being a part of it. Hey man, congratulations. I guess I just got to ask, what does this feel like? I feel, and I may be talking completely out my hind end here, Dallas, but I relate to you. I grew up around this stuff. It's all we ever did. Go racing with my dad, work on the car. Didn't really get the opportunity to be behind the wheel, but I was the kid. I told my wife, like, I've made 150 million runs in a Pro Stock car in my mind. Like, I've went through those motions so many times, caught myself, yanking my foot off the clutch pedal, rowing the gears. I mean, when I was a little kid, rowing the gears in my dad's car, with it sitting on Pro Jacks. What is this moment like for you from going to be from, we've always been a big fan of Dallas Glenn. You're a member of the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30. You're a great young man. We've been big fans for a long time, but how does it feel to arrive here? Are you like walking around in a daze, a stupor? Cause I would be.
Kind of. Honestly, I don't feel a whole lot different than I did before when I was just working on stuff. Obviously there's a lot more attention on me now. But yeah, I really don't feel a whole lot different. The whole time I was working on Jason's car, I was just like you. I was just making a million runs in my head, paying attention to what everything was and trying to learn as much as I can. And, I was, making a lot of runs in my head. And so when I finally got into the car, I felt like there was no reason I couldn't do exactly what I had done in my head a million times. And I feel like I'm in a comfortable spot now in the car, and I can just everything I was doing in my head just kind of flows out naturally now.
The first the first handful of times you got behind the wheel of a Pro Stock car, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was like scuffing tires, right? Doing burnouts in that type of thing. Is that for the KB racing team of Greg Anderson and Jason Lyon? Is that how this process kind of started with you getting behind the wheel?
Kind of. So, a few years ago, I started running our Burnout car, which it's a Pro Stock chassis with just a stock 572 crate motor in it, and it's got a 5-speed Liberty. So the process is very similar to do a Burnout and to launch, but it's not really the same as far as how technical it is to be competitive in a Pro Stock car. But as far as learning the whole process of shifting and switches and staging and line lock and, that whole thing, it was probably very, very beneficial to start doing that. But as far as jumping in the car, when I fired the car up to make my first license pass on, I think it was Wednesday before your event, that was the first time I had ever even I had sat in a Pro Stock car while it was running. That was the first time that
because I'm telling you, man, a student of this game admitted I fancy myself a trained eye, and watching you do that first Burnout, the throttle control, everything. Literally backing up from it, that whole situation. I'm like, you looked. And honestly, Kyle Koretsky did a really good job. He was in a very similar situation as you whenever he made his Pro Stock debut. But you did an incredible job, man. It just felt like Have you heard that from the people around you? I mean, you've got some incredible mentors, Greg Anderson, Jason Line. These guys are like gods out here in the pro stock world. Is that guy, I mean, do they look at you as like, did they give you a ribbing? Did they give you a hard time that you make this look easy?
Yeah, pretty much everybody's told me that I've made it look easy, and I've been doing a fantastic job. Obviously, everything that I focus on is just everything that I screw up, which for the most part, most people can't see of all the little stuff that I do that I screw up, like, just simple little things of bringing the RPM up too much or over revving the burnout a little bit. It's all little stuff that I focus on, but I guess that's just part of the striving for perfection.
What is the perfect, take us through, and I would love to talk about the experience that you're having right now. Obviously, I'm sure it was nowhere near on your radar to be like in a championship hunt, right? To be in the mix with these people that many of us grew up looking up to and aspiring to one day be somewhat near their accomplishments. And here you are beating them in a lot of different instances and having developed yourself as a real threat on the NHRA Pro Stock circuit. But you touched on something that I want to ask about. This gets talked about a lot, but I don't know that anybody's really done that great of a job of explaining some of these nuances. We hear all the time, these are the hardest cars to drive, NHRA Pro Stock cars. They're very detail oriented. It's finesse. It's perfection, whether it's the gear change or whatever it is. Take us through, like, what is a perfect burnout? You hear a lot of these cars. I mean, there's a variety of them that you hear. You hear the one age-old tradition of just bouncing it off the burnout rev limiter and making anybody that knows anything about valve train really, really nervous.
Yeah.
And then
the engines really don't like
yes,
that.
it's not a great thing. But then there's the approach of like kind of letting it hit the rev limiter maybe once and pulling back off of it. I'm curious, when you're being coached, Dallas, take us through what is a perfect burnout in an NHRA Pro Stock car. What are those that look for you to do out there?
One of the things that a good burnout for me is, there's kind of just a finesse of the throttle when you really got to snap the clutch off. And if you hit the tire real good with enough RPM, the car won't want to kick sideways hardly at all. So if you ever see, a burnout start and it just hits the tire real good,
immediately starts to wash out.
Yeah. If it starts to wash out real bad, it could be they didn't have enough RPM. They didn't hit the clutch hard enough. Maybe the tires were a little dry. So all of those things kind of come into play. If you hit it hard enough, I mean, obviously, not too hard where it zings the motor real bad or anything like that. But if you hit it hard enough and you run through the gears and let go of the line lock and everything just goes nice and straight, and it makes it so you can hit the exact spot that you're trying to hit. You always see the guy out there in front that dives out of the way at the last second. You're basically trying to hit his foot. And so he's standing right on a specific point. So you're trying to hit it within an inch or two. So
whenever you're backing it, this is one of the things that I think is interesting. When you put that thing in rewind, right, pull the reverser level on that Liberty transmission and start backing up, I think a lot of people think that it's like you're in there giving it a little gas and like letting off the clutch like you would be backing out of your driveway with a stick shift car. You want to get that thing moving and your foot back on the clutch all the way engaged as quick as possible, correct? I mean, because those are all things that crew chiefs are taking into consideration. If this guy's riding the clutch all the way back, backing it up from the burnout, or having to do that motion multiple times, it can affect the tune-up.
Yeah, one of the biggest things with the Pro Stock, especially with the clutch, is consistency. If you say, going back to the burnout, and say if you don't have enough RPM and it tries sticking the tire and it can put a lot of heat in the clutch, that greatly affects what it locks up when you leave the starting line. So all the little things, how fast you back up, how long you're on the clutch backing up, it all puts heat in the clutch. So how the name of the game is consistency with these cars.
Doing everything the same way every time. I'm curious, kind of moving forward, whenever this whole thing started to get a little momentum early in 2021, and it was like, hey, something special is happening here. I mean, can you take us through that conversation? I mean, did your phone ring? Did you ring someone else's phone? Did Greg and Jason come to you and say, hey, this is too good to stop? Or what kind of brought that whole situation together? I mean, it obviously it looked like a no-brainer, but those of us that pay attention know how much this stuff costs, know how hard it is and expensive it is to run these cars, labor intensive, putting a clutch in them after every run. I mean, it's not an easy type of racing to do. What did that whole situation look like? How did that come to be I'm dying to know.
Well, it as amazing of a sponsor, Rad Torque has just been phenomenal. I mean, you can't ask for a better sponsor than Rad Torque. They supported me, right from when I first talked to them and sent them a proposal. They were very excited, and they agreed to do the first 4 races, and it wasn't long. I mean, it was before I went to the 4th race, in Charlotte when I won. It was even before then. They said, you just keep running. We'll figure out how to pay for it. He goes, we'll figure something out. He goes, you just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing awesome. The luck will change. It was originally like right after I lost in Atlanta and we struggled a little bit. They're like, it's you just hold your head up. You're doing great. We'll find the money. You keep racing. And you really can't ask for a better sponsor than that.
No,
I mean,
that's an incredible thing, man. And I really do think that you're so easy to cheer for. I'm curious, do you feel any sort of pressure having this much success so early on in your career? Like, that's a really unique situation. I mean, most people struggle. I mean, Greg Anderson, your mentor, I mean, he's a guy, when he branched off and went out on his own and decided to race on his own and left Warren Johnson, he struggled for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Struggled. What's it feel like to have had this? Is it hard to wrap your head around? Is it something that you're going, is this too good to be true? Or is this just kind of a perfect storm of really good equipment, really good people, and a naturally talented driver?
I think it's some of like you said, the perfect storm. I mean, when I originally, said I was going to come out and do 4 races, I was like fully gung ho. Like, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to go on kill. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to try to do everything perfect. And I was fully, I know what I'm capable of. I know that I can go up there and hit the shifts and drive the car. I've driven fast cars before. And I guess I don't know if I expected myself to take to it as quick as I did. I mean, I knew I could do it, but I was, there's always certain things that you're worried a little bit about. Oh, if am I going to struggle with this? Am I going to struggle with that? I mean, I knew I'd get it eventually, but how long would the eventually be? But I knew, right from before I even sat in it, that I was going to do whatever I could to try to win one of these. So I don't want it to sound cocky or anything, but when I won, I was like, I knew I was capable of it. I almost expected that at least some point in the early part of it that I was going to, win one. As long as the luck was there, the equipment was there, I knew I was going to do everything I could to be there.
Thanks for saying that, Dallas, because I think that that's something that needs to be said out loud. Is that these are conversations that I think are very valuable to the racers, to the racer base, to our community, to the fan base. Is that I think that there's this notion that you've got to be like an aw shucks, golly gee, who'd have thought this happened to me guy to be liked or to be accepted by the masses. But I mean, this is high level competition. Mm-hmm. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't go up there thinking that you're the best at this or that you're capable of winning, I don't know that this is the place for you. I think that there's maybe something else that you should be doing. So I applaud you being willing to say that out loud. And I thank you for it, because I hope there's a lot of other young racers or maybe well-versed veteran racers that are going, you know what? Maybe I should puff my chest out a little bit more. Maybe I could change my fortune if I went up there with an expectation of winning, or if I went up there with an expectation of success, because a lot of it is between your ears, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a very mental game. I mean, I know at any moment the luck can change, and I can try to, I can do whatever I can to not get down on myself. But, I mean, just look at the last race, for example. I easily could have rolled in a 16th of an inch more and gone 001 red, and I'd be, it would be Kyle sitting here talking to you instead of me. But, I mean,
I got to ask you, how bad did that 000 light freak you out? Because I mean, I think the fun thing for me to say right now is that's just a bad job red lighting, right?
Yeah. I mean, I knew I hit it good, and I knew I rolled in just a little bit. I know I didn't roll in as bad as I did in the semis. I think I cost myself lane choice on that one. But when I got to the top end, they're all like, do you know anything? And I'm like, all I know is I won. I mean, most other drivers have radios, and we don't have radios at KB Racing. So.
Oh, really? That's something interesting. Is that by design? I'm just curious. Or
pretty much all of the crew has radios, but all of the drivers are strictly hand signals. Really? And that's so if there's if you got whatever Greg at pair 8 and Kyle or me at pair 2 or something, and the crew's talking to each other. You're not talking to a driver that's trying to stage and ruin his focus or anything like that. So that's kind of where I think most of it comes to. And then, then you don't ever have any radio communication errors. Is everything strictly hand signal? We all know what we're supposed to do. We know what everybody's trying to do, and it cuts down on a lot of the miscommunications.
Because you do, like, anybody who's ever worn one of those headsets and tried to communicate with a driver, it's hard, right? You don't know, what did they say? I think they said the car's on fire, but it's not. It's a real thing. I mean, that actually, I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago on another piece of Drag Illustrated programming, Cocktail with the Carusos, a few weeks ago on Tuesday nights. They were talking about Mark Caruso and Camry Caruso racing PDRA Pro Outlaw 632. He thought he heard the car's on fire, but what she said was the car won't fire. He almost ripped the door off the hinges trying to put a fire out and get her out of the car when she's sitting in it going, it won't start. And it's a great point, man, that I'd actually not thought about. I thought maybe it was just Greg Anderson being like super hardcore badass or something, because I wouldn't put that past him, like we don't need radios. No radios in this pit. No radios in this pit. I love it, man. So, hey, looking forward to the rest of, no. One more question, and then we will cut you loose, Dallas. And I appreciate you taking all this time with us on an afternoon. I'm probably going to get you in trouble with the KB group.
No, not at all.
Two things that I want to touch on. First and foremost, what was your takeaway from the staging duel situation that we saw between Bruno Massel and Mason McGay? We saw a ton of drivers kind of weigh in on that situation, chime in on social media, a lot of different posts. It seems like the popular point of view for competitors, fellow pro stock racers and high-level drag racers, was that they understood the decision to DQ both those cars. The fan base, very polarizing situation, 100% on the other side of the argument. Definitely don't think it should have been stopped. Wanted to see a winner. Where does Dallas Glenn stand?
I'm kind of, a little bit on the both sides. I absolutely understand, why they DQ'd. It was a 3.5 minutes. I mean, the Pro Stock car doesn't have that big of a fuel cell. I doubt they could have made it to the finish line with as much fuel as they had left. But on the other side, I love a good staging duel. The fans were loving it. I mean, everybody's standing up there looking like, what's going to happen? Somebody, who's going to give first? But to avoid future drama like we have now. Maybe in the future it could be, say if the starter had shut them off at 2 minutes, gone to each one of them and said, listen, I'm going to give you 30 seconds after you fire it up, and somebody better go in or you're both disqualified. I bet if they had a warning saying, hey, if you don't do something, you're going to get pitched out of here, I bet, the outcome would have been a lot different. And, and in the end, I want to see both of the cars go down the track. I want to see them race, not only for just to see, that pair go down, but I feel like the fans missed out on a good round the next round too, because TJ got a single because of it. So
yeah, I thought the same thing. Is if you're looking at it purely in like the entertainment value perspective, bummer of a deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely an L. And I don't know this for sure. I don't have any sort of real super inside information on this, but I do think the NHRA, from what I'm told, there may be a policy coming down the pike. There may be some changes to that whole procedure to ensure that in those moments when that type of thing happens, we do get a winner and a loser. Like the storyline is concluded. And I think that's fantastic. Second question, and I want to close on this. Again, first and foremost, we're so happy for you and we're so proud of you. And it's been fun to watch. For those that don't know, your wife, Sadie Glenn, she's one of the best known PR reps in our sport. She's a social media guru. She's actually written many stories for us right here at Drag Illustrated Magazine. We're big fans of Sadie. So to see you guys having success, two Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 alumni, it's been fantastic. So congratulations. But I want to ask, what does the future hold? We just got off the line with Justin Little Country Swanstrom, a fast rising star in the Street Outlaws No Prep King world. Do you feel any sort of pressure to like be more of a personality, or is that part of your process? I mean, you're doing like right here, you are doing an interview. I know there's probably other things that you maybe would rather be doing. I don't know. You're a nuts and bolts, hands-on kind of guy. I'm curious, like, do you feel any sort of pressure? Like, man, because I can see it a little bit from your first interview in the winner's circle to your second. There's some evolution going on there. Do you feel some pressure to kind of develop that or put yourself out there a little bit more than maybe you have in the past?
No, I feel like I'm just going to be me. I don't want to change. I don't want to change who I am. I mean, this is how I am. said it before. So, sometimes I think I might live under a rock and I only focus on what is right in front of me. As far as, other stuff happening in the world. But no, I mean, I'm just me, and I don't feel like I should change who I am. If people like me, that's awesome. If people don't like me, I'm sorry. This is who I am. I don't want to be take it or leave it, but I just try to be the best person that I can be, and that's just who I am.
Dude, I got to tell you, I think that's the best answer you could have given, because I felt like I kind of set you up there, and I didn't mean to until I'd already spit it out. But that's what happens when you do this stuff live and on the fly. But I thought, you know what? He doesn't need to feel any pressure. I hope I'm not putting pressure on him by saying that. But it is funny how kind of polar opposites of people. I mean, you're a buttoned up, clean cut, soft spoken guy. And you got Justin over here, who's brash and rough around the edges. And then you've got him, you're a quiet, kind of keep to yourself type of person. He's going live on Facebook every 45 minutes. I mean, it's kind of it's really interesting to look at the two different dynamics. And I was hoping that I didn't set you up to put pressure on you that you maybe never had even considered. And I think you gave us the perfect answer, because that's all you can do, Dallas. And that's what I think the challenge is to everybody out there that's trying to make it, trying to break through, trying to grow their race program, whatever there is they're trying to accomplish. Being true to yourself, being authentic, that's step number one. I think I so often see these drivers try to, be a caricature of themselves, put a bunch of, pressure on themselves to be outspoken or say something crazy. And it just doesn't come off. It doesn't work, right? It doesn't come off natural. We can all tell you're trying to be someone you're not. So kudos to you, Dallas, for letting all of us get to know the real Dallas Glenn, and continue to be that soft-spoken guy. Yeah, man. I mean, and that's really a certain amount of this is what it boils down to, and it's way easier to act as yourself than anyone else, man. So go ahead.
Like I was just thinking, after I won there, it was, I could go back and watch that interview, and it's like, I was so worn out from work, with the short turnarounds that NHRA has. I'm putting the clutch in every time. I was so worn out that it was like I couldn't even really think straight. I was just like, I was almost glad that the day was over.
How much do you hear from fans? Because that is something that we hear all the time. Like, we don't have as many hired gun drivers in the sport of drag racing as we used to. That's a conversation that could be had on another day, to be honest. But I'm curious, like, how many of your fellow racers or fans do you think resonate with you more or appreciate what you're doing more because your hands are dirty? You're not a prima donna. You're not a known, wealthy, elite, rich guy that's flying in with your backpack full of helmet and fire suit. You're putting up the awning, working on the car, getting it up on Pro Jacks, emptying the black water, out of the trailer. I mean, you're doing a lot of that. Do you hear that from fans, Dallas? Do a lot of people come up and say, hey, man, you're one of us?
Yeah, I mean, I get some of that. I mean, I hear a lot of that, a lot of the local, kind of bracket racer type, like, you're just one of us. You started, I remember back when you were just bracket racing, and you just kind of worked your way through the ranks and worked your way, and you worked really hard through it. And I hear that a lot. And, I'm still good. I mean, I can't imagine ever I couldn't imagine myself just trying to be, a driver only or something like that. I'd have to be working on something.
Well, I was going to, I said one more, no more questions, but one more. How much do you think it enhances your ability behind the wheel, having a working knowledge of the car? My dad one time told me, like, if you want to be successful in pulling trucks, have your wife drive, because she has no care or concern about what's happening. And she's just, you know what I mean? Like, she's not at all connected. She doesn't have an emotional relationship with a clutch pack that she just put together, or an engine that she built, or a tune-up that she labored over. And that's no shot at women. I'm just saying it that my dad used to say that at a repair shop. Do you feel like that's an advantage for you, that you know what's going on with the car?
Actually, I do. There's a knowledge of everything that's going on inside of that car and how it works. When I make all kinds of very small adjustments to the clutch, to the clutch pedal, whereas other guys who are drivers and have somebody else putting the clutch in for them, they might make, 1 or 2 adjustments a weekend. I make 4 or 6, or, sometimes I'll adjust it every run. And there's just small little things of, I know how everything works. If there's a small sound that happens, if there's a feel, I can usually pinpoint exactly, what's going on. If the car doesn't want to fire up or something, I have an idea of why, and I can do something to try to get it to fire or something like that. So a working knowledge of the car, I feel is very beneficial.
Well, I tell you what, man, it sure is beneficial for all of us that are watching you do it, because it makes it feel like anything's possible, brother. It makes it feel like you can start at the bottom and, hey, we're here. Drake's not here, but I wish he was. That'd be a really awesome, like, kind of into the interview to like pop bottles and play a hip hop song. But thank you, Dallas, for taking some time with us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Love hearing from you. Say hi to your beautiful wife, and I guess we will see you at the next stop on the NHRA National Event Trail for Pro Stock, which is not Brainerd. I guess, what is it? Indy?
Indy.
Wow.
Indy would be the next one. It's,
are you guys bummed not to go to Brainerd?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we want to go to all of them, pretty much.
Right.
Especially Greg. He
wants to be at
more
every
of them.
Yeah.
So
well, I understand, because Greg's like kind of the last of a dying breed of like real deal professional drag racer. I don't think it gets talked about enough. This is his business. He doesn't have, a company outside of this that supports it. Racing is his business. And I think that we need to be listening to guys like Greg, because I understand it's not the direction the sport's going, but we need more Greg Andersons. Like Jason or Justin Little Country Swanstrom is more on that path than almost anybody in NHRA
if drag
right
racing
now.
goes away, we got to find a job to pay the bills.
Yeah, that we don't want that to happen. Let's make sure it doesn't, Dallas. you tell somebody and I'll tell somebody, and we'll go from there. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you being here. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.